Welcome back. The Tea Party brewing up trouble in Nevada for one of its very own. Lame duck Republican Senator Bob Bennett of Utah, who lost his primary battle to a Tea Party candidate there, is now saying there is no way, his words, that Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid will lose to Sharron Engel. Engel's got the Tea Party behind her, and she's here with me right now. By the way, we called Senator Reid's office. They declined a chance for an interview with us. We also called Senator Bennett's office. He was unavailable for today's show, but you know our policy is we'll talk to anyone if they want to come on, and we don't hold any aspersions one way or the other if they don't come on, but we do mention that as well. Representative, very good to have you. What do you make of this, an attack from Senator Bennett out of the blue?
Well, first of all, Neil, it's great to be on your show to talk about this campaign against Harry Reid, who needs $25 million. And I've been saying I only need 1 million people to send $25 to SharronEngel.com. But first of all, one of the greater concerns after the election will be this lame duck Congress and what they might be able to do to us before we can actually get sworn into office and change the direction of our country. But that's,
no offense, ma'am, that's not what I asked. I asked you about Senator Bennett, a Republican, you know, harpooning you there and saying that would be bad. More to the point, ma'am, he said in these days they were willing to give up on America from the left. He's referring to the Vietnam War period. And in these days, there are too many people willing to give up on America from the right. He seems to be lumping you with that crowd. Offended?
Well, I'm glad to be lumped with a crowd of mainstream Americans who believe, as they showed at the polls, that Senator Bennett has outlived his usefulness. I suppose he's not mainstream any longer. He has become one of those elitists that is no longer in touch with what the country is really thinking about in these economic times. We're tired of being waterboarded with high unemployment, high foreclosure rates, and high bankruptcy rates.
Then why, at the time, Ms. Engel, were you against what Harry Reid was trying to do to keep the MGM Mirage operating as it expanded facilities and prevent it from going into bankruptcy? At the time, you had said that the company should not get any stimulus dollars. Were you not aware that the company did not receive any stimulus money, but that Harry Reid was just phoning lenders on behalf of a big employer in your state?
Well, truly, he was exercising his influence to do a bailout, if you will, of MGM.
You wouldn't have done that?
You
wouldn't have done that?
No, bailouts don't stimulate the economy. Bailouts, as we've seen, don't do anything for businessmen.
But I understand, ma'am, but this wasn't a bailout, right? This was simply just having its loans extended. No federal money was involved.
No, but it was a bank bailout. He was saying you should lend to this one, but it was at the expense of others. And truly, we saw with the 14% unemployment that it didn't influence anything as far as the job market. What it did do was the same thing as shifting the chairs on the deck of a Titanic. What you need is an outside force that will actually give confidence in a market to businessmen who have really been holding back. We know they have $2 trillion that they'd be willing to invest if they had more confidence.
I understand that.
But
then part of a job of the senator, the way it's deemed, and we could argue this point, is to protect big employers in your state. Now, obviously, MGM Mirage is a very big employer, if not the biggest in your fine state. So you, as senator, if you were duly elected, wouldn't do that? You wouldn't be doing everything possible to keep that big employer employing people?
Well, certainly the job of government is to create a climate where every employer can create jobs. And there were no jobs created, really. It was just a shifting of jobs from one business to another. So at the expense of some big business, he was willing to play favorites with another big business. And that's not really what we're supposed to be about. We're supposed to be about giving that climate for businesses to provide full-time, permanent employment.
So you draw the line as to how much you'd go to bat for a big employer, regardless of how big they are in your state, right?
Well, truly, there's no such thing in America as too big to fail. Harry Reid thinks he's too big to fail, but I think he's failed already in his policies, and this is just one of them. Stimulus, bailout, Obamacare, all of those have been failures, and we can see that in what we're now standing on the precipice of what may become a double-dip recession.
Well, Representative, can I ask you something else Senator Bennett said? I just want to pick your brain on it. He was saying there's a Republican Party problem going on here, that at the moment there's not a cohesive Republican strategy of this is what we're going to do. And certainly among the Tea Party types, there's clearly no strategy of this is what we're going to do. In other words, you're against a lot of things, but you don't articulate what you're for. What do you say?
Oh, I think we are being very articulate. We understand what the solution is, which is to pay back on the deficit and the debt, cut back on the spending so we can cut back that deficit, and then take back our economy by promoting some things that will really make a difference. You know, we need a true audit of the Fed. We need to liquidate Freddie Mae and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We need to.
But people in your state just want
just
want jobs, right? They want to work, right?
They do, but they know that jobs are created when you create a climate for businesses to provide those jobs. Right now, they're holding back. They're holding back that money that they might invest in the economy because they don't know what their government is going to do. They're afraid they're going to be taxed more and they're going to have more regulation, and certainly nothing that the administration or Harry Reid, who has been disposing of every one of these policies, has presented so far. Everything that they've been presenting shows more regulation, more taxation. That's not the climate that business grows in.
Sharron Engel, thank you very much.
You're welcome.